So this is going to be a restart of my video which was titled "No One is Free from Religion." And the reason why I'm doing this is because libtics do not have the common courtesy to watch the entire video. However, just to quote Full Metal Jacket, they would probably screw someone in the keister and not have the damn common courtesy to give them a reach around. So let's go over the First Amendment, shall we? So part 1 of the First Amendment is that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. The reason for this part is because when the Founding Fathers were dealing with the English, they were dealing with the Church of England. And for those of you who don't know the history of the Church of England, yeah, you're going to have to do your own research on that to figure out why the Founding Fathers put that in the First Amendment. Moreover, the Founding Fathers were studying how the Roman and Greek empires and their governments were doing things. And one of the things that they found is, like the Church of England, the religious system was coexisting with the state. And they saw that there were atrocities done by all sides of the coin. Yeah, when libtics and atheists come up here and say, well, Christians are responsible for the Crusades and persecuting pagans, I'm not denying any of that, but what I am saying is that you gotta look at the other side of the coin too and see that the pagans and the Muslims during the Crusades were just as guilty of those atrocities. And this is where that other part comes into play, nor prohibit the free exercise thereof. Now, the reason why they put this in there is because the Church of England, again, were persecuting other Protestants, the Baptists specifically. And one of the people who spoke against that was James Madison. And a matter of fact, if you take a very good look on how many of our founders were Christians, you'll find out that 95% of them were from different denominations. So you could say, for instance, that the Constitutional Convention was sort of like the Treaty of Westphalia, or the convention that produced the Treaty of Westphalia. But they did that even better. Because religious liberty is better than religious tolerance. Because religious tolerance is literally religious censorship, whilst religious liberty is religious expression. And that brings us to our last part, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. Nor take away the freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to go to your government to talk about grievances. In other words, you can express yourself. And you don't need to be politically correct or civil to do that. Yeah, the whole thing about having a civil conversation, alright. You know, the British considered a civil conversation as you just shut up and obey the crown. I might also add that when the Democrats were defending slavery, I bet they were saying that civil rights for black people were for them to shut up and work the land.